So I'm going to take a really quick sort of, I guess, poll, not an official poll. I'm just going to have you guys raise your hands. I know many of you who are in this class were in this class last semester. Traditionally, we start out with an introduction to Google Sites just so you guys have that stuff so you can um, essentially get started on your online portfolio, or at least have a place for it for your online portfolio, your digital portfolio. However, again, since most of you took this class in the fall, this is fairly old news. Those of you who did not take the class in the fall may already be familiar with Google Sites. You may already have the ability to, create your own website and add information to it and content and things like that. So this may be something that's of no interest to you as well. So what I want to do real quick is basically just a show of hands, and I'm looking for a very, very large majority here in order to continue. Who would be interested in skipping the Google Sites presentation? Okay. We got a decent number of hands, but it wasn't even quite half the class. So we'll go over the Google Sites and everything like that, the Google, and we'll spend today doing that. I just want to get you guys familiarized with it. We won't do the HTML or anything like that. We'll get started on our actual content on Wednesday, potentially, hopefully. That is true. That's pretty awesome, though, Liam. Nice. Um, but yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll just go over it for today, just so you guys are aware that it exists and what it is. And then we will spend Wednesday, more than likely, getting started on the actual material that that we were originally slated to do. But this is just something that needs to happen. So when I was speaking in the introductory lesson about a digital portfolio, I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but some of you were wondering what exactly I was talking about. Well, the digital portfolio is essentially an online space where you can share the work that you've done, whether it's through this or on your own time. I'll go ahead and put those hands down. So in that sense, that's an excellent question, Benkai. I have not heard from Mr. Dubik about it. I would say that that's... Oh, I would say that that's a possibility, even with the weather being as it is, because by Thursday, most of the roads should be clear, as I understand it. Let me check the weather real quick. I'm going to check it on my phone. Obviously, it would probably be best to confirm this with Mr. Dubik, but it does look like the temperatures are going to rise above freezing in the coming days, actually starting tomorrow. And for the next few days, it will actually, wow, Friday it's going to have a high of 70 degrees. So that's in the Carborough area, in the Carborough Chapel Hill area. Let me check Charlotte as well. Because if it remains, above freezing, there's a very good chance that that the roads will be clear enough, and Mr. Dubik might still have labs on those days. Yeah, it looks like it's very similar weather. It's going to be going above freezing starting tomorrow, and actually remain that way for a while. Doesn't look like we're actually going to get that cold again in the next week. Wow. Weather can't make up its mind. So I would say it's a safe bet, but of course, I would also recommend double checking with Mr. Dubik. I'll ask him as well so that I can have a more definitive answer for you guys on Wednesday. But yes, so online digital portfolio. Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a more succinct or definite answer. I just haven't heard one way or the other. Having a place to put the work that you've done will be good for a few different reasons. Not just obviously for something that you can show like, schools and stuff like that later down the line, or, potential employers much later down the line. That's a bit about putting the cart before the horse. But it's also good to have something that you can just like show friends and family and be like, hey, this is what I've done. On top of that, it's something that's good to have for yourself. One of the sort of natural things that happens whenever you gain an interest in something and a taste for it is your ability to recognize talent in that particular area begins to overstep your ability to emulate that talent. And basically what I mean by that is you can recognize good work, although you aren't necessarily skilled enough to create good work yet. And that's not a criticism on anything. It's just, it's something that exists where we recognize that we want to do better than this. And we feel like that there is that well inside of us that allows us to do better than what we're currently putting out. But it can happen where you feel like you're not making forward progress and you feel like you're stuck in the same spot. And sometimes you wonder to yourself like, hey, am I not cut out to do this? That's a totally natural thing to ask yourself. And one of the things that a digital portfolio can be good for is you can look back at the work you've done in the past and you can go, hey, no, I have improved. I may still not be exactly where I want to be yet, but I am making progress. Because the essence of putting out quality work and doing something that you're really proud of and that you can really show off to people, and have them go like, wow, this is really amazing. That all comes from hard work. That all comes from, applying yourself day after day and improving upon your knowledge and your previous work. So in that sense, having a digital portfolio can also be useful for being able to see how far you've come, being able to look back and go, hey, I'm not that person that I was, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, a year ago. I know how to do better than this. And it can help provide that sort of motivation to continue working at it. Because like I said, it's just sort of a natural thing sometimes to run into situations where you go, am I cut out for this? Dude, I don't feel like I'm making any sort of progress or improvements. So also when you run into feelings like that, don't worry, that's a natural human thing. It's not, just because you have those feelings doesn't mean they're true. It just means that you're a human being and you're experiencing doubt like everybody else does at some point in their lives. Anyway, that got a little bit heavier than I meant it to. The digital portfolio is useful for a few different reasons. Some of them I listed. Some of them just because sometimes you just want to look at stuff that you've done and been like, hey, I made that. That's pretty cool. But if you're not sure how to do it, well, that's why I'm here. Before we begin, though, I want to get started with some internet safety stuff. Because that's, obviously, you guys grew up with the internet. You're very familiar with it. But it bears repeating just because it's amazing how permanent what of yourself you put out there on the internet is and how far that information can propagate. So it does bear repeating some basic internet safety stuff. So first of all, don't share information about your family, relatives, or friends. Don't share your full name, your address, any of your phone numbers, or the location of your house to anyone on the internet. Do tell your parents about your Google site, and make your site private or give link access only. Well, these don't necessarily completely solve the problem, they go a great long way towards ensuring that you don't cause any undue attention to yourself with a Google site. Um, Obviously, not sharing personal information, that pretty much is a given. Don't put any information out there that you wouldn't want a stranger to see. And also, just to be on the safe side, don't put any information out there that you would feel unsure about a stranger seeing, because it's a pretty safe assumption that a stranger would be able to see it, if you put it out there on the internet. Uh, Telling your parents about your Google site will mean that you've got, somebody in your family on your side who's able to help you out with these situations in case something does get a little weird. So for that reason, do tell your parents about your Google site, because you want them also to be aware of the fact that it exists. On top of that, they can take a look at it and be like, hey, this is cool, or, hey, you put something on there that probably shouldn't have, like, maybe you should take it down, that kind of thing. Because in the end, I mean, they have your best interest in mind as well. And make your site private or give link access only goes a ways towards restricting who can see your site and when, because that's another important thing. I mean, obviously, since it can't be helped necessarily, we're encouraging you to, well, we're saying that you shouldn't put personal information on there. But you can increase the safety of it by limiting who can see it. Making your site private means that only you can see it whenever you're logged into a computer in your Google account. Giving link access means that your link will, or your website will not appear on Google searches or anything like that, and it can only be shared if somebody actually provides the direct link to your site. Obviously, link access is not completely airtight. You can provide the link to somebody and they can provide the link to other people. And in that way, knowledge about your site can propagate. If you make your site private, if anybody has the ability to log into your Google account, they will be able to access the site. So neither of these are completely airtight, but they are much, much safer options than just leaving them completely permanent. And so for that reason, we do ask that you do that as well. But yeah, I just wanted to, get that kind of stuff out there. In addition, again, as a general axiom, anything on the web can be seen by someone. That's why we're doing all this. Notify your parents of anything questionable. Again, this goes hand in hand with telling your parents about your Google site. If they know about it, and then something's weird or strange happens, then you can notify them that something's going on, and then they can help you do something about it. And of course, do not put pictures of yourself on the site without your parents' permission. This goes along with the not sharing personal information bit. Even small, subtle things like pictures of where you are or information about the school you attend or something like that, like as a side note, people would be able to deduce where you are using that information. It's actually kind of amazing what people can do with a little bit of detective work and a small amount of information to work on. So not providing a picture of yourself in addition to that just sort of limits the amount of information that people can work with in case they're doing something weird. Now, I make it sound like the internet is a big scary place full of weird people, and in a sense it can be, but it's really not all that bad. Obviously, you handle yourself intelligently, and yeah, exactly. Like I said, it is though, but at the same time, it's not, handle yourself intelligently, and it's not a risk you run into all that often, or necessarily even ever. I mean, I can't say that anybody's ever tried to find personal information about me and, visit me in person because of it. Same goes for people that I know, but that doesn't mean it's unheard of, so obviously you want to be mindful of it. So all that fun stuff out of the way, let's talk a little bit about Google Sites. So first off, how do you make one? Well, you need a Google account to begin. It's labeled a Gmail account here. That's because that's all one and the same. You sign up for Gmail by creating a Google account, which will then allow you to use any of the suite of Google services that they offer, which includes, Google Drive, Google Photos, Google Sites, obviously, Gmail, Google Play, all of that good stuff. So you would need one of those in order to begin. And the way you can do that is you can just go to gmail.com and there's an account creation link there. So show of hands, who already has a Google account? Everybody, just about. I guess raise your hand if you need to create one. Okay, I'm going to assume at this point then that everybody has one. It's probably a pretty safe assumption anyway. So once that's done, you can go to sites.google.com and log in with your Gmail information, and you're going to have, any sort of websites that you've created pop up. If you're like me, you've probably got a bunch of useless websites that exist because I've done this presentation a few times. I don't know why the thingy is spelled with an I. I don't think I actually made this one. But, Super Bing Bong Doorbell and the Super Website Test 5 million and Uniform Resource Locator, all these things are previous sites. If you have any as well, those will pop up. If you don't, or, whatever, you won't have anything here, but you will have, along with everybody else, a button in the sort of upper left-hand side over here. This is red button, red, orange, labeled Create. Go ahead and click on that. And you have a new option here. Oh goodness, this has changed since the last time I used it. Let's see what new sites looks like. You don't click either of those yet. I just want to see. Okay. And that's not going to help. How do I get to add editors? All right. Okay, so that's how you do that. Sorry, this is figuring this out on the fly. I'm kind of curious about this, though. I can do that. Okay. Change the header type. That takes me back to the new Google sites. All right, so that doesn't do anything useful. Half of this is the thrill of discovery. Okay, they can remove from the site by doing that. Rename page. All right. We're going to do, yeah. So when you click Create, we're going to do classic sites for now because there are more options immediately available that I'm familiar with. It's not as exciting or sleek looking, and I'm sure that new sites will be the superior option given a couple of months here, at the very least. But as it stands right now, we'll go ahead and create a site using classic sites because that's the one that certainly that at least I'm the most familiar with, and it seems to have the most functionality. It is pretty outdated looking, though, compared to the new sites. Oh, perfect. There you go, Liam. I like old sites since I can make it look as bad as possible. There's the freedom to make it as ugly as possible. Um, yes. So you'll be taken to this page once you click on that. And you'll see here we've got select a template to use, name your site, site location, select a theme, more options, and of course the ever-present I'm not a robot. Because that's freaking everywhere nowadays. But basically the template, what that will do. Oh yeah. This is a recap of last semester. It seems like there were enough people who were looking for some guidance on this that I figured I'd go over it again. No worries though. I'm glad you asked that, just so you know what you're looking at. Um, the templates automatically select layouts and colors and even like background pictures and stuff like that and fonts, all this kind of stuff in order to sort of create a general look for the page. But you can, of course, do customization beyond that. However, we are going to pick a template just to get started. I'm going to browse the gallery for one. As you can see, classroom site, professional site, project, outdoor club, travel journal, restaurant site, soccer team, blah, 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 NGO, contractor, project tracking. Ooh, project tracking. Let's do this one. Project tracking template by sample user. Get your project organized with this central place to manage all project deliverables and timelines, track issues, risks, I guess there's supposed to be a comma there, deliverables, tasks, calendars, documents, updates, and more all in one place. Super exciting, right? So I'm going to use this one. Click select, and as you can see, it's highlighted in that nice Google red, project tracking templates. We're going to name our site Moon Laser Progress Site. And as you can see, as I gave it that name, site location was automatically populated with my site name. If it wasn't available, though, it would already tell me, like, hey, this isn't available. Why don't you try putting, an 88 at the end or something like that? Who knows? Something, though. Maybe adding a couple of characters to the end in order to differentiate it from somebody else who took it. I'm the truest memer on the planet. Lol. Perfect. From there you can select a theme. Themes go beyond the templates. The templates will not have a theme, attached to them because they have their own custom theme. But these can, for new pages and stuff like that, will apply these themes. More options, site description. So whenever your site is searched for on Google, if it is set to public, this is what will appear in Google when you search for it. Since we're not doing that, we can just leave that blank. And of course, this checkbox, I'm hoping nobody here is going to need to have to click that checkbox. Now I'm going to click that I'm not a robot, because I am not a robot. With all that done, I've got a template selected, a name, a location, and all of the other additional options already set to my liking. I've verified that I'm not a robot. I'm going to click on Create. It's going to sit here for a minute to do this because there's basically automatic page generation happening on Google Sites. Your choice, Brandon. Brandon asked if this is the one we're making our official one or just a test. If you would prefer to have a sandbox site to just sort of mess around with the different features of Google Sites, feel free to make this one a test. If you've already been down this road before and, this is what you're looking for in order to get started, go ahead and make this the real deal. Mostly just Google Sites stuff, Jacob. Meet the new sites. Effortlessly create and share beautiful sites for your team, project, or event. Here's a few tips to help you get started, blah, blah, blah. Easily add Teams work to your site. Just like Google Docs, you can edit sites in real time. And Slides takes the stress out of making your content mobile friendly. A preview with your soup, doop, joop, joop, joop. Get started. Let's see what, oh, I see. That was an ad for the new Google Sites. Okay, never mind. I can read. I have wonderful reading comprehension, the best. So, this is the site that was created based on my template. It automatically populated it with a whole bunch of just nonsense. In this case, it's actually kind of like a template so that I can structure the site in a way that works for me. But as we can see, it gave it the name Moon Laser Progress Sites, and then we've got some automatically generated or filled content here. So it tells you, oh, on this page you can insert content related to your project, including text, gadgets, forms, calendars, photos, illustrations, YouTube videos, blah, blah, blah. Oh, sure, I didn't realize that. Sorry about that, Pink Eye. Well, I'm just going to, excellent, Liam. I'm just going to run down what's on here anyway. So you'll definitely have a minute to get through all your stuff. So yeah, some sample text so you understand exactly what you're looking at, and it's kind of a bit of a tutorial as well, so you can, get some ideas as to what to put here. It's automatically populated with some links and some pictures, and some links that are pictures, so that you can have your website already looking like a professional or, affair. And there's, just some generic Google stuff built in, like the ability to search the site. That is something that's just sort of a feature of any site made on Google Sites. In addition, it's automatically populated with a sidebar. Again, another feature of Google Sites, which will have, all the links that you can follow and everything like that. That correspond to all the different pages that exist on the site. It's got some sidebar text, because who doesn't love some good sidebar text? Recent activity is good for you personally as the creator of the site in order to see what's changed. And then there's a little widget there which says 2,670 days since project launch, which was meant to be more generic. That's interesting. I mean, I'm not actually using the cursor or anything right now. So that's probably why I'm just sort of going over all the different things that exist on here. Yeah. 2,670 days since project launch, which is a more generic term, but it's kind of appropriate right now considering it's the Moon Laser Progress site. So presumably it's been 8 years. 8 years. That's impressive. That's a big project. I mean, granted, it's a laser on the moon, so I suppose it would be a big project, but regardless. Anyway, so this is just a basic setup of, a given template. Any particular templates that you use, it'll look different, but largely similar in structure and everything like that. It'll just have some additional stuff maybe in the sidebar or in the actual meat of the page, the content area. If we were so inclined, we could click, we've got a, contingent of buttons up here, not many, but a few. We could click on this one that looks like a pencil, and then we could edit content on this page. We are building a moon laser because the moon is awesome and lasers are awesome and I really want $1 billion. So yeah, like that, we can just take all this stuff out. Done. We've edited the page already. We can edit this stuff with more relevant links. So instead of risks and issues, directly relating to secret agents. Timeline until the world, oops, wow, held captive. I have not published it yet, but yeah, in essence, it is already on the web. There are a number of additional formatting options that exist up here. We can insert images and links, just various formatting things. We can insert gadgets, like posts that will update automatically on the main page from another page on the site. We can add various Google widgets like a calendar, a Google Calendar. Anything from the Google Drive can be placed there. A photo from Google Plus. A button to hang out with this Google account, so you can press a button to call their phone or something like that. A map, so you can find exactly where on the moon they're located, and you can also embed YouTube videos, so you can show off your moon laser burning through some test steel or something like that. Regardless, though, that is one of the more direct and straightforward ways that you could edit individual pages. If we wanted to, we could click on any of these links and actually follow that link to go to that page, and then we could, again, click the edit button. And so on and so forth. You could automatically add items because this is a list. So we could say, focusing crystal stolen assigned to Mook Squadron 3. You get the idea. Now, if I wanted to add a new page, I could click this Create Page button here. We'd give it a name. We'd call it, Moon Laser Construction Webcam. We could set a template to use. We could call it just a generic web page, and we could put it. What this basically means is either we put it at the top level. Essentially means you can think of the structure of the website like a tree. So either this is going at the top of the tree, or like if it's more of a tree, I guess it's more closer to the trunk of the tree, or it can go as a child of our risks and issues directly relating to secret agents page. So that is to say, you could only access it through risks and issues directly relating to secret agents. We don't really want to do that, though, since a webcam showing off the construction of the moon laser is not really related to risks and issues directly related to secret agents. So I'll just keep it at the top level so people can, visit the site and then, pull up a webcam in real time and maybe shake around a robot arm or something like that. Interactivity, people love it. So we'll put it at the top level and we'll click Create. Just like that, a new web page. I could add, just like before, I could add an embedded YouTube video here, and I could, include a little Java applet that shows the webcam in real time. I could, include a number of different things. It doesn't actually have to be directly related to the moon laser construction webcam, although it's generally good practice to give your pages helpful names and have the content match the name of the page. Although I guess technically speaking, you are the master of your own destiny and your website. You're not required to. So I'll just go ahead and click Save here. Now, so that's how you create a new page. It's pretty simple stuff. Now I'm going to click this gear up here, which provides me with a whole lot more options. I know this is a fairly quick review of all the stuff that Google Sites does. I encourage you guys to just sort of poke around with it and see all the different things you can do beyond what I'm just showing you guys, because I don't have a whole ton of time to go over it like I traditionally kind of do in the past. Usually I devote like a couple of sessions to this, and so I spend a lot more time just sort of, I guess, rambling about all the different things you can do and showing the features in more detail. But in this case, this is going to be a very quick run through. So, again, if you do end up creating a website with this for your digital portfolio, I would say, hey, spend some time just sort of messing around with all the different options and see what else you can do. So under page actions, we've got revision history, which will show a list of all of the changes that have been made to this page, including perhaps the creation of the page, as well as who has made that change. So if I click on this here, as you can see, version 2 and version 1, edited by myself. And I can click on one of those versions in order to bring up essentially a snapshot of that page. So like, let's say I made some changes to this, I didn't really like them, I can bring up an older version which will revert the page back to what it was before I made those changes. And that way, you can, if you're worried about something, you've added in a whole bunch of stuff, or you accidentally did like a find and replace and replaced a whole bunch of words that you didn't mean to, or something like that, you can always just bring up an earlier revision and bam, it's like nothing ever happened. So that's always useful. Click cancel, boom, subscribe to page changes. So whereas the revision history keeps track of all of the changes that have been made in a sort of a past tense sense, it'll say, hey, it was changed at this time, it was changed at this time. Anytime a change happens, you will receive an email letting you know that somebody has changed your page. Now, this is useful if you're working on a collaborative kind of thing. Not so much if you're working on it yourself, and you know for a fact that you're the only one who's been making changes, because you will get an email even when you yourself have made changes to this page. So it'll be like, oh, hey, Thomas Tutori has added the word the, and you'll be like, yeah, I know, I just did that. So you'll still get emails about it, which will be kind of annoying. But, if you're working on it with a bunch of different people, or if for some reason you have the idea that the page could change from somebody else, so outside of your own volition, then that's not a bad thing to necessarily do, so you can see what changes have happened and when they happen. Page settings will bring up, unsurprisingly, settings for the page. We'll look at that in a moment. Print page will print the page out on a printer, unsurprisingly. Copy page will copy the entire contents of the page so that you can actually paste it onto another page. Move page will move it to a different part of the site. So remember the whole thing about move to the top level versus move into as a sub-page of risks and issues directly relating to secret agents. If you did that and you want to change your mind, you can move the page and basically restructure the site. Delete the page is pretty self-explanatory. It will make the page go away as if it never existed. Preview the page as a viewer is also pretty self-explanatory, except I'm going to go ahead and click on it anyway. So anytime somebody visits your site, this is what they're going to see. So that way you can spend time previewing your pages before you feel like they're ready for prime time. Page templates, save as page template means that if you, create a layout for a page and a set of colors and everything like that that you're pretty happy with, you can save it as a page template for later and use it later. Change page template will allow you to change the template that the page is using. So, no surprises there. Let's go up to page settings. Now, page settings is, pretty generic. Show page title. So, as in Moon Laser Construction Webcam, it'll show up here, on the tab. It'll show up here at the top. We can uncheck that and make it go away. Show links to subpages will show any links down here to any of the other pages that are subpages of this page. Allow attachments will allow you or anybody else editing this to bring in like pictures from an outside source and everything like that. Allow comments. As you can see down here, I can comment on this page. Anybody else who visits it will also be able to comment on that page. You uncheck that box, you disallow people to make comments. Page description will be for Google searches. Page URL is something you can update, and then you can change the template from here as well. One moment. Now, we can check out site actions as well, because that's one we haven't touched yet. Subscribe to site changes is exactly the same as subscribe to page changes. However, you will receive an email anytime any changes are made to this page or any other page on your website. Pretty self-explanatory. Edit site layout will allow you to edit the hierarchy of all of the pages on your website. Sharing and permissions will allow you to decide who can see your page and stuff like that. So we're going to check that out in a moment. Manage site is, all right. Edit site layout, or excuse me, manage site is another one we're going to look at in a moment. Sites help will just provide you with generic help from Google on how to use Google Sites. Report an issue in case you find a bug. You can report it to Google, and they can, ensure that the bug doesn't exist for that much longer, presumably, hopefully. So sharing and permissions is one that I'm particularly interested in. And it actually takes you into the Manage Site area under the Sharing and Permissions tab. Now, who has access? This is what I'm interested in. Public on the web. Anyone on the internet can find and view. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change this. I'm just going to click the change link over here. Boom. And as you can see, on, public on the web, on, anyone with the link, and off, specific people. So, yeah, let me adjust the private part of this. But anyway, anyone on the internet can find and access. No sign-in required. Naturally, pretty self-explanatory, just like how most web pages are now. Well, any web page right now that you visit is generally going to be a public one. On anyone with the link, so this is link access that we were describing before. So you have to provide the actual direct link to your website in order for somebody to be able to access it. Just like a copy and paste thing, you can provide it in an email or, whatever. But just like how you can do that, anybody who has the link can copy and paste it and provide it for other people, and so they can visit the site as well. So in that sense, it can be a little bit, less safe than perhaps full-on private. So, for that reason, you want to be careful about how you do that. I see your hand. We'll check out the website in a minute here, Liam. So yeah, that's link access. And then specific people. So if I set it to off and click save, once it gets back to the previous screen I was on, I now have to specifically invite people using this feature, put in like their Gmail address or something like that in order for them to be able to visit the website. In addition, I can also change their permissions so I can make sure that they can only view, his owner can edit, can view. You can make sure that they can only view and then provide their email address or something like that. And then they'll get an email saying, hey, You have invited them to view this. Now, they can view it as can anybody else, with them when they view it, or if they provide, login access on their account to somebody else. So, just keep that in mind as well. Again, it does restrict the number of people who can visit the website, but it's not completely 100% airtight, foolproof, fail-safe. But yeah, let's go through all the different stuff here. So recent site activity, again, site activity. So this is not just limited to one page. This is all of the pages on the site. Pages, this is just a list of where all the pages lie on the hierarchy. As you can see, there are some sub-pages already, but you can drag and drop these in order to restructure the site. Attachments, any pictures or GIFs or anything like that that you've uploaded from your computer to Google Sites to be used on your site will be listed here. Page templates, just a list of templates for your site, which ones are using what, and also any other templates that you might have. Apps, scripts, we'll keep track of any scripts that you've added to your site. So in case you want to have a script that's like a game, or you want to have a script that, I don't know, keeps track of how many people visit your site or something like that. Deleted items, anything that's deleted. General information and settings about your site. So site name, site notice, it'll pop up whenever people visit. Site description, again, for Google. Site storage, how much of your page storage you've used, because obviously putting a page somewhere will take up space. So you got to keep that in mind when you're creating your site. Search options for making it easier for your site to be found on Google. Again, not something you should really be worrying about. Analytics, if you want to keep track of people who visit your site from where and when and things like that. Webmaster Tools, any additional, sort of scripts and things like that. Site display language, what this language is going to be displayed in by default. In addition, if somebody is visiting this with a browser that has a different default language, Google will automatically translate it for them. It will realize that it's in a different language, and it will translate it to whatever language that they're running. So if somebody visits your website and they have, excuse me, a German, their Google Chrome browser is set to be like its default language is German, it will detect that the site display language is English, and it will run it through Google Translate so that they get the site in German. Mobile, automatically adjust site to mobile phones, pretty self-explanatory. Security, allow embedding of your site in other sites. This can be a security risk because if your website is asking for information from people and it's framed through another website that will actually pick up that information, intercept it, and pick it up, it can be a security risk for that reason. By default, it's set to off. You can turn it on if you're not that worried about it. Users who can access site activity, anyone can view the site, so you can make sure that like people can't see any changes that are made, as well as revision history. Sharing your permissions, we already went over. Web address, where your website is located, and themes, colors, and fonts will allow you to change the themes, colors, and fonts of the site. Excuse me. Okay, so that's going to do it for today. On Wednesday, we're going to get started on our actual presentation. I know that was a very, very quick and dirty rundown of how Google Sites works. I'm sure if you're unfamiliar with it, you have tons and tons of questions, and that's okay. Again, I would encourage you to poke through it on your own and figure out what things do. Excuse me, just suddenly coughing fit. I'm going to go ahead and ask the poll questions. We'll leave it open for question and answer time, and then we'll go ahead and break for the next couple of days as well. But here we go. All right, we're at 83%, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close. Okay, so by and large, the oh, and 100% right at the last second. By and large, the pace was mostly good, although there was some too fast and some too slow. Um, Again, I apologize for going too quickly. I know that was very fast. I just wanted to make sure I covered everything because today is really the only day I can have to do that sort of thing. Um, and naturally, everybody's favorite question. All right, and 100%, bam. And again, I mean, just all right. I guess by virtue of the fact that like there are very few did not enjoy this class responses, that's good. But that's always much harder to interpret for obvious reasons. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. So if you have any questions about anything, I'm here. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to head out and have a wonderful couple of days.